It is 6:40 in the evening. The office is almost empty. You are still at your desk, and the strange part is that if someone walked over right now and asked what you actually finished in the last 2 hours, you would struggle to name a single thing. You are not lazy. So what are you still doing here? There is a specific kind of tired that has nothing to do with effort. It arrives somewhere around hour 9. Your eyes are dry. Your inbox is open in one tab, and something meaningless is open in another. You read the same paragraph 3 times without absorbing it. You move a task from one list to another list and feel briefly productive. You tell yourself the real work starts in a minute, and then you stay another hour anyway. Most people explain this to themselves with a moral story. They decide they lack discipline. They assume everyone else was issued an engine they somehow missed. But the research points somewhere else entirely, and the answer is far less flattering to your workplace than it is to you. Start with the oldest evidence, because it is over a century old. During the First World War, British munitions factories extended shifts dramatically. The government needed shells faster than they could be made, so workers were pushed to 70 hours a week and beyond. Someone, thankfully, wrote everything down. Decades later, the Stanford economist John Pencavel went back into those records and analyzed them properly. He found that output climbed with hours only up to a point. Around 49 hours a week, the curve started to flatten. Past 55, additional hours produced almost nothing at all. A worker putting in 70 hours produced roughly what a worker putting in 55 produced. 15 hours simply vanished. That was physical labor, where output can be counted in objects. Your work cannot be counted in objects, which means when your hours vanish, nobody sees them go. Not your manager, not you. So why do you keep offering them? In 1955, a British naval historian named Cyril Northcote Parkinson published a short, sarcastic essay in The Economist. His line has outlived almost everything else he wrote. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. He meant it as satire about bloated bureaucracies. It ended up describing your Tuesday. When a workday has no natural finish line, when leaving is a decision rather than an event, your brain stops optimizing for completion. It optimizes for occupancy. When was the last time your day ended because the work was actually done? Now, here is where it gets uncomfortable. Aaron Reed, a management researcher who studied a global consulting firm, examined a culture where 80-hour weeks were the unspoken expectation. Some employees complied. Others quietly did not. They arranged travel around local clients. They took time off without announcing it. They built a manageable schedule and simply never mentioned it. Reed found that managers could not tell the two groups apart. The quiet resistors received the same strong performance reviews as the genuine 80-hour workers. Meanwhile, employees who formally requested a reduced schedule, who asked out loud, were rated worse for producing the same results. Read that again. The firm was not rewarding work. It was rewarding the appearance of devotion, which reframes everything about that 640 desk. Staying late is not a failure of your productivity. In a lot of workplaces, staying late is the productivity. It is the thing being measured, whether or not anyone would ever say so. And you learned this without being taught it. Nobody handed you a document explaining that visibility counts more than output. You watched who got praised in meetings. You noticed whose coat was still on the back of a chair at 7. You absorbed the rule the way people absorb every unwritten office rule, quietly and completely. And then you started following it. Then you blamed yourself for the exhaustion it caused. But that only explains why you stay. It does not explain why the hours you stay are so useless. For that, you need Sophie Leroy, an organizational psychologist at the University of Washington. She identified something she called attention residue. When you switch away from a task before it is finished, part of your attention stays behind, still working on the thing you left. You are physically present at task B. A slice of your mind is still writing task A. On a day of meetings, pings, and quick questions, you accumulate this residue hour after hour. You are never fully anywhere. By evening, you are running on a fraction of your attention, with a full day's fatigue attached. That is the fog. It is not weakness. It is arithmetic. And notice what the fog does to your judgment about time. The slower you work, the longer you feel you need to stay. The longer you stay, the more residue you collect. The more residue you collect, the slower you work. It is a loop that feeds on itself. And from the inside, it feels exactly like proof that you are not trying hard enough. Have you ever noticed that the tasks you dread most are the ones you always save for the end of the day, when you have the least left to give them? And the pings do not stop when you leave, which is a separate problem with its own name. Leslie Perlow, a Harvard professor who studied consultants and their phones, described what she called the cycle of responsiveness. Pressure to be available makes people answer messages at night. Colleagues adapt to the fast replies and begin expecting them. The expectation raises the pressure. The pressure produces more night replies. Nobody in the loop ever chose the loop. Perlow tested the opposite at Boston Consulting Group, giving teams one protected night off per week, covered by colleagues and treated as mandatory. Job satisfaction rose. So did the value the clients reported receiving. So what do the people who actually produce extraordinary work do differently? Anders Ericsson spent his career studying elite performers, most famously violinists at a music academy in Berlin. The best students did not grind longer than everyone else. They practiced in tightly focused blocks of around 90 minutes, then stopped on purpose. They slept more than their peers. Many of them napped in the afternoon. The trait that separated the top group was not endurance. It was the ability to stop. Sit with that for a second, because it inverts almost everything an office teaches you. Stopping is not the reward you earn after the work. Stopping is part of the equipment that makes the work possible. And almost nobody is trained in it, because no company has ever put a metric on the value that rest protects. So look at yourself at that desk again. The half-lit floor, the moved task, the hour that produced nothing. You are not a person with a discipline problem. You are a person responding rationally to a system that can see your presence and cannot see your output. You stay because staying is legible. You stay because leaving at 5 in a room where nobody leaves at 5 feels like an announcement about your character. You stay because the finish line was never drawn. And a workday without a finish line does not end. It just gets abandoned. None of that is a personal flaw. All of it is a design flaw. And you did not draw the design. The most useful thing you can do with this is small. Give the day an edge. Decide what done looks like before you begin, not after you are tired. Protect one block of 90 minutes and defend it like a meeting with someone important. Notice that the last hour is almost always theater, and ask who exactly the audience is. Some evenings you will stay anyway. That is allowed. There is a real difference between staying because the work demands it and staying because the room does. And simply being able to tell them apart changes something. It is 6:40 in the evening. The office is almost empty, and the person still sitting at that desk, moving a task from one list to another, is not failing at their job. They are doing precisely what the room trained them to do, and doing it well. The work will still be there tomorrow. The hardest and most underrated skill in your career might just be turning off the light while it waits.